Hey, you. Yeah, you watching this right now, picture this in your head, a long, dusty road with no one around. There's an old truck chugging along, all rusty and scratched up. Inside that truck is a guy named Jack Tanner. He's not fancy. His jeans are dirty, his shirt is faded, and his face looks tired, like life has been tough on him for a long, long time. Next to him, holding his hand tight, is his little girl, Lily. She's got big eyes and a quiet smile, like she knows something special. Most people zooming by in their shiny cars wouldn't even look at Jack twice. They'd think, oh, just another poor dad with a junky truck. But guess what? They're wrong. Super wrong. Jack's got a secret, a huge, amazing secret that's going to turn this whole story upside down. But hold on, I'm not telling you yet. You've got to stick with me, because some mean bikers are about to wish they'd never messed with him. Before we jump into this wild tale, I need you to do something fun. Drop a comment below and tell me, where are you watching from today? Are you at home, at school, or maybe somewhere cool like a park? And hey, if you love stories where the little guy wins big, smash that subscribe button right now. It's free, and it means you won't miss the next awesome story. Oh, and here's a question to get you thinking: have you ever met someone who didn't seem like much at first, but then boom, they surprised you? Tell me about it in the comments. I can't wait to read what you say. Okay, let's set the scene a little more. Jack Tanner isn't the kind of guy who stands out in a crowd. He's quiet. He doesn't brag or show off. His truck rattles and shakes like it might fall apart any second, and sometimes it even coughs out black smoke. People in town see him and think, poor Jack. He's got nothing going for him. They see the dirt on his hands and the way he walks slow, like he's carrying a heavy load. They see Lily, too, his sweet little girl with her messy ponytail and old sneakers, and they figure Jack's just a dad trying to scrape by. Maybe he's got a boring job, or maybe he doesn't even have one. That's what everyone thinks when they spot him driving down that dusty road. But here's the tricky part: looks can fool you. Big time. Jack's not just some broke guy with a beat-up truck. Nope. There's something about him that nobody knows, not the people in town, not the kids at Lily's school, and definitely not the loud, rude bikers who are about to roll into the story. His secret? It's like a hidden treasure chest, locked up tight, waiting for the perfect moment to pop open. And when it does, oh boy, you're going to be cheering so loud your neighbors might hear you. Let's talk about that road for a second. It's out in the middle of nowhere, with dry grass on both sides and a hot sun beating down. Jack's truck is moving slow, because that's all it can do. Lily's in the front seat, kicking her legs a little, humming a song she made up. She's only 6, but she's smart. She looks at her dad like he's the best person in the world, even if his clothes are old and his truck is noisy. Jack keeps his eyes on the road, but every now and then, he glances at Lily and smiles. It's a small smile, the kind that says, "We're okay, kiddo." They're a team, just the two of them against the world. Now, imagine you're driving by. You see this guy in his rickety truck, and you don't think much of it. Maybe you'd feel bad for him. Maybe you'd wonder why he doesn't get a better car. That's what most people do, they judge him fast and keep going. But if you stopped and looked closer, you might notice something. Jack's eyes aren't just tired. There's a spark in them, like he's got a plan. Like he's waiting for something big. And Lily? She doesn't act scared or sad, even though their truck looks like it's one bump away from breaking down. She's happy. Why? Because she knows her dad's not who he seems. Here's where the fun starts creeping in. Jack and Lily are just minding their own business, driving along, when trouble shows up. Not quiet trouble, loud trouble. The kind that roars and rumbles and makes your heart jump. It's coming closer, fast. Can you hear it? That deep, growling sound? It's not a storm or a monster, it's worse. It's a gang of bikers, and they're about to make Jack's day a whole lot harder. These guys aren't nice. They've got big motorcycles, shiny helmets, and attitudes bigger than a mountain. They see Jack's slow, clunky truck, and they think, oh, this is going to be fun. They don't know it yet, but they're about to pick on the wrong guy. Before I tell you what happens next, think about this: what would you do if you were Jack? Would you yell back at those bikers? Would you speed away? Or would you stay quiet, Like you've got something up your sleeve? Jack's got a choice to make, and it's going to lead to something so wild, you won't believe it. But I'm not spilling the beans yet. You've got to keep watching, because this story's just getting started, and the best part is coming soon. Those bikers. They're loud and tough, but they're in for a shock. Jack Tanner's secret is like a bomb waiting to go off, and when it does, everyone's jaw is going to hit the ground. So, stick with me, okay? We've got a dusty road, a beat-up truck, a quiet dad, and a little girl who's tougher than she looks. Plus, some mean bikers who think they're the kings of the world. It's all building up to something huge. You don't want to miss it? And don't forget, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and if you've ever met someone who surprised you. Let's see how many underdog fans we've got out there. Ready for the next part? Here we go. It all started on a super hot afternoon. The sun was blazing down like a giant oven in the sky, making everything sweaty and sticky. Jack Tanner was driving his old, rusty truck down Route 12, a bumpy, dusty road that stretched on forever. His little girl, Lily, sat next to him in the passenger seat, humming a happy little tune. She didn't care that the truck was old or that it shook like it might fall apart. She just liked being with her dad. The engine made funny noises, put-put sputter, like it was tired and ready to quit. Some people might say that's how Jack's luck was too, tired and almost gone. But they didn't know the real Jack. Not yet. Then, out of nowhere, a huge noise cut through the quiet. Vroom. Vroom. It was loud, louder than thunder, louder than anything Jack and Lily had heard that day. 5 big, tough bikers came speeding up behind them on their shiny motorcycles. The engines growled like a pack of angry wolves ready to pounce. Dust flew everywhere as they zoomed closer, their tires kicking up dirt. The leader of the gang was a guy named Spike. He had a greasy beard that looked like it hadn't been washed in weeks, and a mean grin that showed his yellow teeth. He leaned out from his bike and yelled, "Move it, loser. This road's for real men." His voice was rough and nasty, like he wanted to scare Jack right off the road. Jack didn't say anything back. Not a single word. He just held the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles turning white. He kept driving slow, real slow, because that's all his truck could do. He didn't want Lily to get scared, so he stayed calm, even though those bikers were acting like big bullies. The other bikers started laughing, their voices loud and sharp over the roar of their engines. They sped up and circled Jack's truck like sharks swimming around a little fish. "Look at this guy," one of them shouted, pointing at Jack. "Bet he can't even afford gas for that junk heap." Another biker, a skinny one with a red bandana, grabbed an empty soda can from his pocket and threw it hard. Clang! It smashed against Jack's window and bounced off, rolling into the dirt. Lily jumped a little in her seat, her eyes wide. The loud noise scared her, and she looked at her dad quick, like she was waiting for him to do something. But Jack? He didn't yell. He didn't honk the horn. He didn't even look mad. He just kept his eyes on the road, his face super still. Too still. Like he was hiding something big, something those bikers didn't have a clue about. Inside, though, you could bet he was boiling. Not because of the soda can or the mean words, but because they were messing with him in front of Lily. That's the kind of thing that gets under a dad's skin. The bikers didn't stop there. Oh no, they were just getting started. They kept riding circles around the truck, making it wobble as the wind from their bikes pushed against it. Spike, the leader, sped up so he was right next to Jack's window. He leaned in close, way too close, and shouted, "What's wrong, old man?" Too scared to fight back. He laughed like it was the funniest thing ever, and his buddies joined in, howling like a pack of wild dogs. They thought Jack was weak. They thought he was nothing. To them, he was just a guy in a junky truck who couldn't do anything about it. But here's the thing, Jack wasn't weak. Not even a little bit. He was strong, stronger than those bikers could ever guess. He didn't need to yell or wave his fists to prove it. He just stayed quiet, letting them think whatever they wanted. Lily peeked at him again, her little hands clutching the seat. She didn't like the bikers being mean, but she trusted her dad. She knew he'd take care of things, even if he wasn't saying anything right now. Jack's silence wasn't because he was afraid. It was because he was smart. He was waiting. For what? Oh, you'll see soon enough. The bikers kept at it, acting like they owned the road. They'd zip in front of Jack's truck, then slow down on purpose, forcing him to hit the brakes. The truck squeaked and groaned every time, and Lily held on tight. "Get off the road, trash," one of them yelled, tossing a gum wrapper that fluttered past the windshield. Spike revved his engine extra loud, making it roar like a monster, and grinned at Jack like he'd won some big game. "Pathetic," he spat, shaking his head. "You don't belong here." Jack's truck chugged along, slow and steady, while the bikers kept buzzing around like annoying flies. People driving by might have thought Jack was in trouble, some poor guy getting picked on by a gang of tough guys. And sure, it looked bad. The bikers were loud and fast, and Jack's truck was old and shaky. But looks can trick you. Those bikers didn't know who they were dealing with. They saw the dirt on Jack's jeans and the dents in his truck, and they figured he was a nobody. A loser. Someone they could push around for fun. Inside the truck, though, it was different. Lily stopped humming for a bit, but she wasn't crying or shaking. She just sat there, watching her dad. Jack's hands stayed tight on the wheel, but his eyes? They had a little glint in them like a spark waiting to turn into a fire. He wasn't going to let these guys win. Not today, not ever. He was keeping cool for Lily, but deep down, he was ready. Ready for what? Something those bikers would never see coming. Something that'd make their mean grins disappear real fast. The tension was building up, thick and heavy, like a storm about to break. The bikers thought they were in charge, laughing and shouting as they zipped around. They didn't care that Lily was there or that Jack was just trying to get home. To them, it was all a big joke. But Jack wasn't laughing. He was quiet, too quiet, like a tiger sitting still before it jumps. The bikers didn't notice. They were too busy being loud and rude. They didn't see the strength in Jack's silence or the way he kept going, no matter what they did. So there they were, Jack and Lily in their rattling truck, and 5 big, tough bikers acting like bullies. The hot sun burned down, the road stretched on, and the trouble was just beginning. Those bikers thought they had Jack figured out. They thought he was nothing. But they were wrong, so wrong, and they were about to find out why. Stick around, because this story's heating up, and Jack's got something up his sleeve that's going to change everything. Days went by, lots of them, and those mean bikers didn't stop picking on Jack. Nope, not even a little bit. Every single time Jack drove his rusty old truck into town, they were there, waiting to make trouble. Whether he was going to the store to grab groceries or dropping Lily off at school, Spike and his biker crew popped up like a bad rash. They loved making fun of him. It was their favorite game. And they were loud about it, really loud, so everyone could hear. One day, Jack pulled into the gas station. The truck sputtered and coughed as he stopped by the pump. Lily sat quietly in the front seat, coloring a picture with a little crayon. Jack climbed out, his jeans still dirty from working hard, and started filling up the tank. That's when Spike rolled in on his big, shiny motorcycle, his greasy beard flapping in the wind. He parked right next to Jack, way too close, and sneered. "Hey, junk man," he shouted, his voice all rough and nasty. "Why don't you sell that heap and walk? Oh wait, you probably can't even afford shoes." The other bikers, 4 of them, zoomed up behind Spike and started laughing like it was the funniest thing ever. They howled and slapped their knees, their engines rumbling loud enough to shake the ground. Jack didn't look up. He just kept pumping gas, pulling out a few crumpled dollar bills from his pocket to pay. The bills were wrinkled and old, like they'd been stuffed in there forever. Spike pointed at them and laughed even harder. "Look at that," he yelled to his crew. "This guy's so broke he's paying with trash money." The bikers kept cackling as Jack handed the money to the cashier and climbed back into his truck. But here's the thing, something super important: Jack wasn't just sitting there taking it like a doormat. Oh no. He was watching them. Every single time they opened their big mouths, he paid attention. Every rude word they threw at him. He heard it. Every smirk on their faces. He saw it. Every time they peeled away on their fancy bikes, leaving dust in his face. He remembered it. Jack wasn't loud like them. He didn't yell back or shake his fist. But his eyes, they were sharp. Like a hawk watching a mouse, waiting for the right moment. The bikers didn't notice. They were too busy being mean and thinking they were the toughest guys around. They'd see Jack driving slow in his rattling truck and laugh some more. "There goes the junk man," one of them would shout. Another time, At the grocery store, they spotted Jack carrying a bag of apples and a loaf of bread. "What's that, your big feast?" Spike called out, grinning like a bully who'd just stolen someone's lunch. His crew roared with laughter again, revving their engines to make a big show. Jack just kept walking, Lily holding his hand, her little sneakers kicking up dust. He didn't say a word. But he didn't forget. One morning, things got a little different. Jack was driving Lily to school, the truck bouncing along Route 12. The sun was just coming up, painting the sky orange and pink. Lily was humming again, her favorite thing to do when they were together. Then vroom, the bikers showed up, right on time. They sped past, cutting in front of the truck so close Jack had to slam on the brakes. The truck screeched, and Lily's crayons rolled onto the floor. Spike turned around and waved, grinning like he'd won a prize. "Learn to drive, loser," he yelled, and off they went, their bikes roaring down the road. Lily picked up her crayons and looked at her dad. She didn't like those guys. Not one bit. She tugged on his sleeve with her tiny hand and whispered, "Daddy, why don't you tell them to stop?" Her voice was soft, like she didn't want the bikers to hear, even though they were long gone. Jack turned to her, and for the first time that day, he smiled. It wasn't a big smile, just a little one, but there was a sparkle in his eye. A sneaky, clever sparkle. "Don't worry, kiddo," he said, his voice low and calm. "They'll find out soon enough." "Find out what?" "Oh, you're going to love this." Lily tilted her head, confused, but she didn't ask more. She trusted her dad. She always did. Jack patted her hand and kept driving, the truck rumbling along like nothing had happened. But something was happening. Something big was building up, like a storm cloud getting darker and darker. Jack wasn't just some guy letting bullies push him around. He was waiting for the perfect time to show them who he really was. The bikers kept it up, day after day. One time, they saw Jack fixing a flat tire on the side of the road. Spike slowed down just to yell, "Need a real man to help you, junk man." They laughed and sped off, leaving Jack kneeling in the dirt with a wrench. Another day, they threw an old banana peel at the truck as they zoomed by, shouting, "Here's your lunch." It splattered on the hood, and Lily giggled a little, even though it wasn't funny to Jack. He wiped it off with an old rag and kept going. Always quiet. Always watching. People in town started noticing the bikers picking on Jack, too. Some shook their heads and felt bad for him. "Poor guy," they'd say. "He doesn't deserve that." Others just ignored it, figuring Jack was too weak to fight back. But Jack didn't care what they thought. He wasn't doing this for them. He was doing it for Lily and for something else. Something those bikers didn't see coming. Every mean word, every laugh, every peel of their tires was like a little note in Jack's head. He was keeping score, and the score was getting higher. Lily started noticing things, too. She'd see her dad's face get a tiny bit tighter every time the bikers showed up. Not mad tight, but thinking tight. Like he was putting puzzle pieces together in his brain. One night, after the bikers had honked and yelled outside their little house, Lily asked again, "Daddy, why are they so mean?" Jack tucked her into bed and said, "Some people think being loud makes them strong. But real strength? It's quiet. You'll see." She nodded, her eyes sleepy, and Jack turned off the light. The days kept going, and the bikers kept being jerks. But Jack? He kept watching, waiting, smiling that little smile. The sparkle in his eye got brighter. Whatever he was holding back, it was big. Bigger than the bikers' bikes, bigger than their loud mouths. And soon, real soon, they were going to find out. Stick around, because this story's about to get wild. It all happened on a sunny Saturday morning. The air was warm, and the town was buzzing with people. Jack's old, rusty truck was parked outside the diner, a little place with red booths and yummy pancakes. The bikers, led by Spike, spotted it from down the street. They grinned at each other, thinking it was time for their biggest, meanest prank yet. Spike, with his greasy beard and loud laugh, grabbed a bucket from the ground. It was full of muddy, yucky water from a puddle. He ran over to Jack's truck, lifted the bucket high, and dumped it all over the hood. Splash! The dirty water dripped everywhere, making a big mess. "There you go, junk man!" Spike roared, his voice booming. Now it matches you. The other bikers, four tough guys with shiny bikes, laughed so hard they nearly fell over. They slapped their hands together and pointed at the truck, thinking they'd won the day. Mud was sliding down the sides, and they were still giggling when creak the diner door swung open. Out stepped Jack. But wait, this wasn't the Jack they knew. No way. The dirty jeans. Gone. The faded, holy shirt? Nowhere in sight. Instead, Jack wore a sharp black suit, like something a movie star might have. His shoes were shiny, sparkling in the sun, and his face had a look that could stop a speeding train. The bikers froze. Their laugh stuck in their throats, and their eyes got big. Before they could even move, two huge black SUVs rolled up fast. Vroom. The doors popped open, and men in fancy suits jumped out. They walked straight to Jack and nodded at him, like he was the boss. Spike's jaw dropped so low it almost hit the ground. What's this?" he stammered, his voice shaking. He didn't sound tough anymore, not one bit. Jack stepped forward, calm as a summer breeze. He looked right at Spike and the gang, his eyes steady and strong. Then he spoke, clear and loud. "I think it's time you learned who I really am," he said. "My name's Jack Tanner. I own Tanner Tech. You know that big factory in town, the one everybody talks about? Yeah, I just bought it. That's mine. And those bikes you're so proud of? I could buy 100 of them with the change in my pocket." The bikers' faces turned white like they'd seen a ghost. Their mouths hung open, and they didn't know what to say. They'd been messing with Jack for weeks, calling him names, throwing stuff, laughing at his truck. They thought he was a nobody, just a poor guy with nothing. But they were wrong. So wrong. Jack wasn't poor. He wasn't weak. He was a self-made millionaire, a guy who'd worked hard and built something huge. And now, standing there in his fancy suit with his big cars and helpers, he looked like a king. Spike blinked fast, trying to figure out what to do. The other bikers shuffled their feet, looking at the ground. They weren't laughing anymore. They'd picked on the wrong guy, and now they knew it. Jack's secret was out, and it hit them like a giant wave. This was the big moment, the one they never saw coming. The air felt heavy and quiet, like everyone was holding their breath. Spike, the big tough biker with the greasy beard, tried to act like it was no big deal. He forced a laugh, but it sounded weak and shaky. Man, we were just joking," he said, his voice small. He looked at his biker buddies for help, but they just stared at the ground. Jack didn't smile. He didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. He just stood there in his sharp black suit, looking strong and calm. Then he nodded to one of his guys, the men in suits who jumped out of the big SUVs. The guy pulled out a phone, pressed a few buttons, and made a quick call. Nobody knew what was happening, not yet. Spike shuffled his feet, still trying to grin like it was all okay. But then, a loud rumbling sound came down the street. R. It wasn't more bikes. It was a tow truck, a big one with a hook on the back. It rolled right up to the diner, and the driver hopped out, looking at Jack for directions. The tow truck wasn't there for Jack's rusty old truck, though. Nope. It was there for the bikers' shiny, precious motorcycles. Spike's eyes got huge. "Hey, wait, what?" he yelled, but it was too late. Turns out, Jack had just bought the parking lot where the bikers had left their bikes. It was his land now, and he didn't want them there. "You're trespassing," Jack said, his voice steady. "Time to go." The tow truck driver started hooking up the motorcycles one by one. The bikers ran over, waving their arms, but the men in suits stepped in front of them. "Move back," one said, and they did. The Spike's pride and joy got lifted up and hauled away. Spike's face turned red, then white. The other bikers looked like they wanted to disappear. They weren't tough anymore. They were just mad and scared. Meanwhile, a crowd had gathered, people from the diner, folks walking by, even some kids on bikes. They all watched, whispering to each other. Jack turned to them, standing tall. "I don't care what you look like or what you drive," he said loud and clear, so everyone could hear. "But if you treat people like trash, you'll end up with nothing." The crowd went wild. They clapped and cheered, shouting, "Yeah, Jack, and you tell 'em." The bikers didn't know what to do. Spike kicked a rock and mumbled something, But nobody cared. They slunk off, heads down, walking away with their tails between their legs. No bikes, no loud engines, no mean laughs, just quiet losers shuffling down the road. Then, the best part happened. Lily, Jack's little girl, ran out of the diner. Her ponytail bounced, and her face lit up with a giant grin. She threw her arms around Jack and hugged him tight. "You did it, Daddy," she said, her voice all happy. Jack hugged her back, finally smiling a little. The crowd kept clapping, and some people even whistled. The struggling dad they'd all underestimated, the guy they thought was poor and weak, was a hero now. A real hero they'd never forget. So here's the thing, friends, listen up close, because this is important. Jack Tanner looked like a nobody to a lot of people. His truck was old and rusty. His jeans were dirty. His shirt was faded. He didn't talk loud or act big. Most folks driving by would think, "Oh, that's just some poor guy with a junky life." Even the bikers thought that. They saw him and figured he was weak, someone they could push around and laugh at. But guess what? They were so wrong. Jack wasn't a nobody. He was a somebody all along, a big, amazing somebody. Those bikers judged him fast. They looked at his beat-up truck and thought, "This guy's got nothing." They saw his quiet ways and decided he was scared or soft. They laughed at his crumpled dollar bills and his slow driving. But they didn't see what was inside him. They didn't see the strength hiding there, waiting to come out. Jack had power, real power, not the loud kind with shiny bikes and mean words, but the quiet kind that builds something huge. He was a self-made millionaire, a guy who worked hard and turned his life into something great. The bikers missed that. They judged him by what he looked like, not who he was. And that's the cool part, sometimes, the person you least expect is the one who changes everything. Think about it. Jack didn't look like a hero. He didn't act like a big shot. But when the time was right, boom, he showed everyone what he could do. He didn't need to yell or fight to win. He just stayed calm, waited, and then flipped the whole story upside down. That's real strength, friends. It's not about being loud or mean. It's about knowing who you are and standing up when it counts. Jack did that, and now the whole town knows his name. What about the bikers? They laughed too loud, didn't they? They thought picking on Jack made them tough. They roared around on their bikes, shouting and throwing stuff, acting like kings of the road. But here's the funny thing, people who laugh too loud are usually the ones who don't see what's coming. Spike and his crew never saw Jack's secret. They didn't think he could fight back. And when he did, when he showed up in that sharp suit with his big cars and his tow truck, they were shocked. Their laughs turned into stammers, and their tough act fell apart. They didn't win. Jack did. So what can we learn from this? A lot. Maybe there's someone out there you think is small or weak. Maybe you see them and figure they're not important. But hold on, don't be so sure. That quiet kid at school? That lady with the old coat? That guy with the messy hair? They might have something amazing inside them, just like Jack did. You can't always tell what someone's got going on just by looking. People are full of surprises, and the ones who seem the smallest can end up the biggest. And if you're the quiet one, if you feel like nobody sees you, don't give up. Jack didn't. He kept going, even when the bikers were mean. He stayed strong for Lily, his little girl, and he waited for his moment. You can do that too. Be patient. Be yourself. Work hard. One day, you'll get your chance to shine, and the people who laughed? They'll be the ones with their jaws on the floor, just like Spike. What do you think, friends? Did the bikers get what they deserved? I say yes. They were bullies, and Jack showed them that being mean doesn't make you a winner. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think. Did Jack's big reveal make you cheer? Did you like seeing the bikes get towed away? Tell me everything. And hey, let's keep this story rolling. Maybe you've got a tale about someone who surprised you, or maybe you've been the underdog who came out on top. Share it with me, I'm all ears. Jack Tanner's story is proof. Don't judge people by what you see on the outside. The real stuff, the good stuff, is deeper down. Be kind, be strong, and watch out, because the quiet ones, they might just change the world. Keep being awesome, friends, and I'll see you in the next story.